Okay, this is a continuation. I'll read back a little bit. Read back a little bit here. Yeah. Daniel smiled and said as he looked down the road, "Ants. Ants," asked Sally. "Ants," said Daniel. If I'm not mistaken, the clear signs handed down as Solomon not only talking to ants, but understanding them through hearing them. Being the case, I have just got to hear what the slaves of Allah think about the clear signs saying such a thing. Before Daniel asked them about the ants, he said, "Too bad about what happened to your fellow to your fellow Muslims in the Humvee. Why did he blow himself up?" Sounded like he was arguing with those he felt had become anti-Islam. Did I cause that? "All the more reason to stop you, if you did," said a voice over the CB. Daniel thought, then asked, "So you admit I have the ability to stop Islam from taking over the world? Or just slow it down?" There was silence. Daniel went on with, "I've asked this question many times before, but I'll ask it again. What's it say to you about a faith that gets its followers killing those and themselves who question or leave it? You don't see that as problematic when you can't question Islam, nor leave it without having to always look over your shoulder from then on? Why, O slaves of Allah, is Allah so incredibly thin-skinned? Allah certainly wasn't thin-skinned when he wrote the Injil, New Testament. As a matter of fact, in the Injil, Allah never even calls himself we, our, or and us. Allah didn't even seem to care that people believed he was one and that Jesus was his only begotten son. In Allah's Injil, Allah never uses the royal we anywhere within it. Why, the only person who uses the majestic we in the whole entire Injil is a demon-possessed man who calls himself Legion because he was filled with many demons. Why is Allah, who hates shirk more than anything, using the royal we? To begin with, why is Allah emulating a demon-possessed man in his Injil with it? It is to show his greatness, like kings do," shouted a voice desperately. Daniel went on with, "Oh, because," Daniel went on with, "Oh, because mortal, human kings supposedly use the royal we, Allah feels it necessary to use it also, like the demon-possessed man in Allah's book given to Isa, the Injil? Why, O Abdullahs, why? Does that make sense that shirk-hating Allah uses the royal we because human kings might have used it? You sure about that?" There was no answer from the Muslims in the pursuing vehicles. Daniel looked at Sally and said, "I sure hope these facts demoralized them and dull their blades." Sally said, "It's our only hope, isn't it? Unless we want to have another shootout with them." The CB and the Kenworth shut off. Before Daniel knew it, the Kenworth and the SUV started driving on both shoulders of the road. "Oh, looks like they are going to try to stop me like the others tried last night," said Daniel. Daniel picked up a CB and asked, "Want another game of trailer slap, do you?" Daniel started moving back and forth from lane to lane. The Kenworth and SUV got back into the right lane again. Minutes later, Daniel was trying to get his pursuers thinking about what they were trying to kill for by asking, "Did Jibril acknowledge that Jesus Christ came in the flesh from God to Muhammad? If so, where does it say that in the clear signs or hadith that Jibril acknowledged such a thing to show he wasn't a demonic spirit to deceive Muhammad? If you read 1 John 4:3, it says, 'And every spirit that confesseth not that Jesus has come in the flesh is not of God.' By the way, the word prophet in 1 John 4:1 is dealing with false prophets. But you believe it's talking about Muhammad, true?" There was no answer. Minutes later, Daniel asked, if Muhammad was a prophet, how come he let a Jewish woman poison him? Was he thinking that his eating 7 ajwa dates in the morning would protect him from the poison, being that he said that if you eat 7 of those type of dates, you'll be protected all day from both magic and poison? Sure, he lasted a few years after such a poisoning, but he ended up claiming that it felt as though his aorta was being severed, and saying such a thing after saying that if he was a false prophet, Allah would sever his aorta. His aorta. I told you that before, but you think nothing of that, true? There was no answer. Minutes later, when a Muslim was again trying to say Muhammad was in Deuteronomy, Daniel asked, how can it be Muhammad that Deuteronomy is talking about, when Deuteronomy infers that if a prophet is wrong in one prophecy, he's a false prophet and not to be feared? I know I've asked you this earlier, but again I ask it. But I ask it again. Did Muhammad get all of his prophecies right? Besides, the Quranic Jesus said you'd be able to see Muhammad as Ahmed in the Torah. But where is the name Ahmed mentioned in the Torah? Where? So, who is the prophet like unto Moses, referred to in Deuteronomy then? Asked the voice. Daniel said, the angel says it's Jesus. Tell me, Kabashi, shouted an Arabic accented voice. Then exactly what do Jesus and Moses have in common? Daniel thought, then said, well, they did miracles. Can you show me in the Quran, not the Hadith, where Muhammad did miracles? The voice responded with, Iktara batas, sa'atu, one shak al-kamar. The hour has drawn near, and the moon has been cleft asunder. Wa in yaro ayatan yaridu wa yakula shiran mustamir. And if they see a sign, they turn away and say, continuous magic. Quran 54, 1 through 2. Quote, you asked for a miracle, just like the pagan Meccans did. So I give you the same one he gave them, the splitting of the moon. But there are other miracles in the Quran he performed. Then you looked at Sally and asked, I bet that data card is getting filled up, isn't it? Sally nodded for yes. Daniel looked out of his pocket. Daniel took out of his pocket another data card and said, get ready to replace it with this one. He then picked up the CB and asked, where does it say in the Quran that Muhammad split the moon in two? I've seen a Muslim video trying to explain this, but it sounded like the moon, if it was split in two, occurred not in Muhammad's time. And if it did, how come no one recorded it being split in Muhammad's time? I thought the hour, quote, hour has drawn near, unquote, dealt with Judgment Day. Is that when Muhammad does this miracle? There was silence. Daniel went on and said, even if Muhammad does split the moon in two, like you want, so Mo will have something in common with Moses to show Deuteronomy is talking about Mo. Well, doesn't the Quran say Muhammad didn't perform miracles? Doesn't the Quran say Muhammad performed no signs and wonders because a camel was treated wrong? If so, which are we to believe? The clear signs Quran or the Hadith? Which are we to believe? As the silence from the Muslims continued, Daniel then said, with Jesus and Moses, they performed miracles. They were both Israelis. They both demanded sacrifice of innocents for the remission of sins, Moses with innocent animals, and Jesus with his innocent self. Oh, and again, they performed miracles. Did Muhammad actually perform miracles quoted according to the Quran? If he split the moon in two, does Quran 54 1 through 2 really say he did it? I'm waiting. After a pause, a voice said, Quran doesn't say that the Prophet Muhammad didn't perform miracles. It just says that if someone wants a miracle to believe that Muhammad is the Prophet, then the Quran is sufficient. Everyone who read the life of Muhammad, Papa, praise be unto him, knows that he performed miracles. How is the Quran a miracle? Asked Daniel. How is it a miracle when it has so many things that are false in it? You really think ants would know who King Solomon was and care about getting stepped on by care about getting stepped on by him and his troops? That's in the Quran. Not only that, but again, the Quran tells persons of the book that they have no ground to stand upon unless they stand firm upon the Torah and Injil 568. And Muslims believe the Torah and Injil are corrupted. Also, Quran 1094 tells Muslims to go to those who have read the before scriptures, Bible, if they are in doubt about the Quran. And you Muslims believe the Bible is corrupted. And the Bible says it's a confirmation and reminder of that went before it. Again, the Bible. And again, you Muslims believe the Bible is corrupted. So how can the Quran be a miracle when it has so many stupid scriptures in it like that? How? What's this about ants? What's this about ants knowing about who King Solomon was? Asked a voice over the CB. Daniel and Sully heard grumbling in Arabic they couldn't understand. The question was completely ignored. A voice then shouted, "Oh, there's the miracle of the flying donkey, right? Muhammad took to Jerusalem to visit the temple and the mosque before going up into heaven and meeting Prophet Isa. And Quran 17:1 says he did." There were gasps heard over the CB from the Muslims. Gasps that Daniel took as a hopeful sign. Daniel was going to gleefully question them about the flying donkey ride, the Sahih correct hadith told of, but the Muslims quickly shouted in Arabic to shut off the CB. The Muslim who shut off the CB turned to the Muslim who brought up the flying donkey and said in Arabic, "Brother Abdullah, don't bring up the flying donkey ride with this loser, for he will take off and run with it. It will be over for us." Sitting on the top bunk of the Kenworth, the Muslim who brought up the flying donkey ride said, "But, Brother Ahmed, the Sahih Hadiths report of Muhammad, may Allah pray on him and give him blessing, riding on the winged donkey Barak to Jerusalem in a journey by night. Even Quran alludes to it in Surah 17:1. If Muhammad, may Allah pray on him and give him blessing, didn't take the flying donkey ride, we wouldn't be Sunnis now, being that we Sunnis are to believe the Sahih Hadiths for certain. Sahih means correct, brother. Sahih means authentic, sound. Are you saying there is a problem with believing Muhammad, may Allah pray on him and give him blessing, saying this, brother? You think Allah's apostle, may Allah pray on him and give him blessing, was lying in his saying he took such a ride into heaven on such an angelic creature that had only a large donkey body, not an actual donkey with wings, but a different kind of animal with wings, an angelic animal? An angelic animal? The Muslim who turned off the CB said in Arabic, "I thought Aisha said he never left his bed, Abdullah, thus making it only a dream. It would have to be a dream because in the night journey, Muhammad, may Allah pray him and give him blessing, said when he flew the flying donkey-like creature into Jerusalem, he visited both the Temple of Solomon and the Al-Aqsa Mosque. But in the time of Allah's apostle, may Allah pray him and give him blessing." Oh, I gotta turn this off.